Ezra Levant, very interesting man. He's not a great fan of the mainstream media. He's a supporter of Tommy Robinson, and he's the editor of Rebel Media in Canada. He used to employ Mr. Robinson. I spoke to him earlier about Tommy Robinson's release from prison on bail after partially winning his appeal against a contempt of court ruling. Now, let me tell you, you may find some of the language offensive. All right, some of the stuff in here may be something you don't want to hear at breakfast. I asked Ezra Levant why Tommy Robinson has garnered so much popular support.
There's a whole swath of people in the United Kingdom who were ignored by the establishment. Daniel Pipes of the Middle East Forum has a phrase, he calls it the 5P professionals. The press, the politicians, the police, the prosecutors, the professors. Just by chance, they all start with P. And these 5P professionals have ignored the will of the people on the issues of Islam, open borders, globalism, Muslim rape gangs. And so Tommy has filled the void where, for example, in Rotherham, there was a terrible cover-up for years about these rape gangs. That's, I think, the main thing that motivates Tommy. And the media won't report it. And when Tommy, it's one of Tommy's main issues. And instead of the elites accepting Tommy's coverage and activism on these issues, they have punished him. They have showed tremendous bias against him. And that's one of the lessons from the Court of Appeal ruling yesterday. Can
I pick you up on just a couple of things?
Sure, yeah.
If I may. This very phrase, Muslim rape gangs, I mean, in 2011, he said this was in reference to Islamist atrocities. Every single Muslim watching this, we got away with killing and maiming British citizens. You know, we're coming for you. Now, do you recognize that this is hugely, toxically, terribly offensive to the vast majority of law-abiding, peaceable Muslims in this country? And if he were, just let me finish if you would, if he were to be more precise, and I've spoken to many Muslims about this, he should be referring to a certain rural background from Pakistan and Kashmir, which has nothing to do with the religion and everything to do with culture. That would be more accurate and less offensive.
See, Nikki, I want to point out what you've just done, because I don't even know if you're doing it. See, what you did is you immediately cherry-picked a comment Tommy made 7 years ago, which you had prepared by your researchers. You were so ready to go. Instead of actually asking me about the news, you went for a 7-year-old comment that, by the way, Tommy had apologized for years ago, because you just can't stand for even one day, for even 5 minutes of one day, to actually get a real answer to your question.
I just want to explore the phrase, Muslim rape gangs. Honestly, I just want to explore that phrase because it's so offensive to law-abiding people.
First of all, speak for yourself, Nikki. For example, Maajid Nawaz of the Quilliam Foundation. He's a Muslim person, unlike you, Nikki. And he has spoken very specifically about Tommy. And he uses the phrase Muslim rape gangs because he's not politically correct like you and most of the BBC. And so Maajid Nawaz says basically what I've said. He said, if the rest of the media had done their job, if the police and the rest of the 5P professionals had done their job, Tommy Robinson would not have filled that void. And if after Rotherham and Rochdale and all these other rape gangs, if you still are so politically correct, Nikki, that you will not even allow this interview to get going without jumping in with a 7-year-old talking point.
But this phrase, Muslim rape gangs, I want to ask you about that. How offensive it is to law-abiding people in this country, and imprecise as well.
Speak for yourself, Nikki, because you're professionally offended on behalf of Muslims. And that goes to my point. Who is there for the forgotten people? Tommy. And now you have your answer. You have, in fact, personified the answer to your own question. The reason Tommy Robinson is so popular is because, unlike you, Nikki, he will use the word Muslim rape gang, and he won't start scolding people for protesting the fact of the industrial scale rape of Indigenous British girls at the hands of overwhelmingly Muslim rape gangs. You know, you have just answered your own question through your own conduct.
He is an extraordinary character. He's a very charismatic character. Does he worry? Are you concerned about the fact that at some of his, and you can't choose your supporters, but at some of his rallies, there have been a number of Nazi salutes? Does that trouble you?
Well, I'm a Jew, Nikki, so playing the anti-Semitic card on me won't work as well as it normally does when you, at the BBC state broadcaster, play it. Again, I know that you're going to get kudos from the rest of the BBC team, but just in case there are any severely normal people listening, you're proving my point. You can ask me about Tommy. You can ask me about the court appeal ruling. You can ask me about how he's doing. I met him last night and his family. You can ask me how he was treated in prison. I could tell you some shocking stories.
How was he treated in prison?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Are you sure you don't want to virtue signal a little bit more? Are you sure you don't want to talk about a few agents provocateurs sent to discredit him?
Well, those people doing Nazi salutes, who sent them to discredit him?
See, look at you. Boy, you couldn't even resist that. You actually, for about 1 second there, asked me a real
You said
news
something
question.
and I'll ask you again, but you said something quite interesting there, that the people who were doing Nazi salutes were sent to discredit him. Who sent them to discredit him, do you believe?
You're putting words into my mouth. All right, Nick, I'm going to give you some news. Are you ready for some news?
You just said it.
And Nick, you want some news about Tommy, or you want to talk about you some more?
2017, he said Islam is not up for reform. Now, Maajid Nawaz, who you mentioned, has said you have quoted Maajid Nawaz. I know Maajid Nawaz. He has said that Islam is up for reform, as has Sarah Haider, the leading activist on this in America.
Nikki, do you want to talk about Tommy's great victory yesterday, or do you want to talk about yourself?
I want to talk about Tommy Robinson's appeal. Do you know what's he like? I know Tommy, but tell our listeners what's he like. What's he like as a man? I know him well. What's he like as a man?
What's he like as a man? He's the last lion in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom used to be full of Tommy Robinsons. How many Tommy Robinsons were there in the Battle of Britain, flying those Spitfires? How many Tommy Robinsons were there in the Battle of Trafalgar? Winston Churchill. The United Kingdom used to be full of courageous lions. I think Tommy Robinson's the last of the lions.
You're comparing him to Churchill.
I am. In his courage, he speaks for millions of forgotten Brits, the ones who you scold as being offensive. Oh, that's offensive. You said Muslim rape gang. I'm so offended for you. And by the way, as a very proper white Brit working for the state broadcaster, I will now scold you for 10 minutes for saying Muslim rape gang instead of Kashmiri and Pakistani rape gang from a certain region. Are you even listening to yourself? You have provided the answer for why Tommy is a success, because he has filled the void left by you.
That is Ezra Levant, supporter of Tommy Robinson, editor of Rebel Media in Canada, and he used to employ Tommy Robinson.